وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم أتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Asandullah of Mauritius by Dr. Mohsin Dalla. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Par Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Tonight is the wafat night of Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salatu wasalam. And before we recite a few verses of Marthia, we will make an opening statement to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that all our du'as today are filtered through the doors of Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam, because he is known to be Babul Hawa'ij, right? He is a door through which the requests are channeled through and inshallah swiftly accepted. Ya Rab tujhe hai Musa Kazim ka wasta, मकबूल हमारी ये दुआओं ए खुदाया या रब तुझे है मूसा काज़िम का वास्ता बाबुल हवाज है लक़ब रहबर का हमारा बे उनके वसीला नहीं हमको कोई चारा तूफान में है नाव अभी दूर किनारा हैरान है मजबूर है बे आसो सहारा या रब तुझे है मूसा काज़िम का वास्ता مقبول ہماری یہ دعا ہوئے خدا. یا رب تجھے ہے احمد مرسل کا واسطہ، مولا علی کا فاطمہ خیبر کا واسطہ، مولا حسن کا فاطمہ کے در کا واسطہ، مولا حسین کا وہ کٹے سر کا واسطہ. یا رب تجھے ہے موسی کاظم کا واسطہ، مقبول ہماری یہ عباس کے کٹے ہوئے شانوں کا واسطہ، اصغر کا واسطہ تجھے بانو کا واسطہ، آفت زدہ مظلوموں کا پیاسوں کا واسطہ، بے غسل و بے کفن تھے وہ لاشوں کا واسطہ. یا رب تجھے ہے موسی کاظم کا واسطہ، مقبول ہماری یہ دعا ہوئے خدایا. یا رب تجھے ہے فاطمہ اطہر کا واسطہ، زینب کے بندھے ہاتھ کھلے سر کا واسطہ، جو ہے مریض جلد وہ پا جائے سب شفا، حاجت کو لے کے آئے ہیں بر آئے مدعا. یا رب تجھے ہے موسی کاظم کا واسطہ، مقبول ہماری یہ دعا ہوئے خدایا. شاہ خراسان شاہ مدینہ کا واسطہ، ڈوبا لب دریا و سفینہ کا واسطہ، بچہ یہ جو پھٹا اسے سینہ کا واسطہ، شبیر کی یتیم سکینہ کا واسطہ. یا رب تجھے ہے موسی کاظم کا واسطہ، مقبول ہماری یہ دعا ہوئے خدایا. موت آئے نہ پہلے ہمیں نہ کم نصیب ہو، پہلے تو ہمیں حج و زیارت نصیب ہو. یا رب ہمیں کرب و بلا جانا نصیب ہو، آنکھوں سے زری پاک لگانا نصیب ہو. یا رب تجھے ہے موسی کاظم کا واسطہ، مقبول ہماری یہ دعا ہو اے خدایا. یا رب تجھے ہے موسی کاظم کا واسطہ. صلوات بر محمد و آل محمد. چند اشعار مرثیہ کے. کیوں کر جدا ہوا سرے سرور نہ بھولنا، غم شاہدی کا اے دلے مضطر نہ بھولنا کیوں کر جدا ہوا سرے جلدی بلانا کہتی تھی صغرا پدر سے یہ جلدی بلانا کہتی تھی صغرا پدر سے یہ حال مریض اے میرے سرور نہ بھولنا کیوں کر جدا ہوا سرے بچے کو لے کر جب چلے شبیر خیمے سے بچے کو لے کر جب چلے شبیر خیمے سے ماں بولی میری محنتیں اصغر نہ بھولنا کیوں کر جدا ہوا سرے کہتے تھے دشت ظلم میں آ کے زلزلے کہتے تھے دشت ظلم میں آ کے زلزلے جھولے کا سونا علی اصغر نہ بھولنا کیوں کر جدا ہوا سرے کہتا تھا شمر چادرے زینب اتار کے کہتا تھا شمر چادرے زینب اتار کے اے دل کہیں سکینہ کے گوہر نہ بھولنا کیوں کر جدا ہوا سرے سرور نہ بھولنا غم شاہدی کا دلے مضطر نہ بھولنا رحم اللہ من قرأ الفاتحة لدفع بلاء وقضاء الحاجات ولأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات الفاتحة.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Salamun alaikum. The family of Marhuma Zahida Sayyid would like to speak for a couple of minutes. Let's welcome Marhuma's son, Dr. Jaffria Sayyid, to the podium with the salawat. Allahumma.
Respected Sayyid Maulana Rizvi, Sheikh Hassanin, Sheikh Vinay, Uncle Farhat Muswi, and respected scholars, elders, and all mu'mineen gathered tonight. I would just like to offer my condolences to all on the occasion of the Shahadat of Imam Kazim alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. I just wanted to take 1 minute of your time to thank you all on behalf of my family, the Kazmi family, the Shabir families, for all of your tremendous support and love given to us in this past few weeks as we have faced a personal tragedy in our lives with the passing of my mother, Zahida Sayyid. I would like to thank the management of JCC, Mukhi, Mahmood Bhai, and the management of JCC for all of their tremendous help and support through all of this process. Indeed, Allah's infinite grace transcends everything, and we have been truly blessed in countless ways in our lives, the biggest of which is the wilayat of Aim Masumin, Salamullah alayhim. I wanted to thank you, Salam. And just on a personal note, I just wanted to thank you all for your du'as and your prayers with regard to my mother and to our family. I wanted to thank all of our family members that have journeyed from far and wide to come to gather with us tonight from places as far as Dubai, from Europe, from various parts in the US, as well as from within parts of Canada. Thank you all. I wanted to thank the community from Kitchener-Waterloo, from London and Kincardine and other far places that have come tonight to be with us. And of course, I wanted to thank all of you for your presence tonight and for your du'as and prayers. Let us take a minute to remember all the marhumeen of all our families collectively, inshallah, with a Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Ahsant, Dr. Jaffa. Also, the family of Marhuma SS Maulana Jaffa would like to speak for a couple of minutes. Let's welcome Marhuma's son, Brother Muhammad Jaffa, to the podium with a salawat. Allah.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. I begin with offering condolences to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi salam. And the Imam of our time, Imam Zawana, Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farajum. Thank you. And the entire Ahlulbait alayhi salam on the Shahadat of Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam and Hazrat Abu Talib alayhi salam. Salli ala Muhammad. We feel so blessed that our mother's 40th coincides on such a blessed day of the Shahadat of our Imam, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the wasila of our Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam to grant our mother maghfirah and choicest place in Jannah. Ilahi Ameen. Just a few months ago in August on Arba'in, our marhuma mother was blessed to be at the shrine of Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam. May she attain Jannah through his wasila. Ilahi Ameen. We bow to the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also accept the sad news that mom's 94-year-old brother Ghulam Abbas Shivji, who she went to visit in Edmonton in November, passed away on a visit to Dubai. He will inshallah be buried in Dubai tomorrow. Please do remember him and my marhuma mother in your du'as. Having gone through this grieving process, our families have truly understood the blessings of having such a caring community. The Ghusl and Mayat team, Jamaat office and Mukhi immediately came to assist and took over all the work that needed to be done. We knew we were in good hands and we could just focus on our grief and saying goodbye to mom. Since that, salawat. So since that very moment, every single one of you, our beloved community members, have surrounded us with love and support, messages of condolences, daily visits, attendance of majlises at home, daily hadiah of nayaz and fatiha, and have just never let us feel alone for even a moment. People have hugged us and cried with us and constantly checked on us. You have all made us feel so supported that it is true that it truly helped us make this immense pain bearable. Our marhuma mother always used to stress the importance of paying back to the community. She used to always remind us to keep good relations with the community, and reminded us that it's this very community that will stand shoulder to shoulder during moments of grief. Mom always encouraged us to take leadership and volunteer positions in the community. When we paid back by building a strong relationship of services into the community truly paid back that ihsan, and they stood as like pillars of strength. Mom was so right, and today I want to remind each of us, young and old, please give your time, your service, and your financial support to your community. In times of joy and especially in times of grief, it is at that time you truly benefit from building those strong ties. Finally, I would like to remind you all of us the treasure of the gift of our mothers. They are on loan to us for a very short time. Treasure these moments. So, treasure these moments, loving them and serving them. Develop a pleasure of going out of your way to physically and financially too help them, and look for moments to bring a smile on their faces. This experience has also made me realize how fortunate we truly are to be surrounded by kindness. My salam to Bibi Zainab alayhi salam. The ladies of Karbala were thirsty and hungry and taken captives. They had not one person offer them a word of condolences. Our salam to you, Bibi Zainab, for your bravery and courage, and for traveling the difficult journey back to Karbala from Sham to do the Chahlum, the 40th of your beloved brother Imam Hussain alayhi salam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala curse the killers of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. We request you to please recite Surah Fatiha for Marhuma Shirin SS Maulidina Jaffar, and for Sayyida Marhuma Zahida Sayyid, and for all the Marhumin. Al-Fatiha. Salawat.
Thank you, Brother Muhammad Jafar. Couple of important announcements before we call Maulana. Register as a liberal. We encourage everyone 14 and over to register as a member of the Liberal Party. This will allow you to have a say in who becomes the leader of this party. And the elected leader will eventually run against the leader of the Conservative Party for the position of Prime Minister. We will not be required to vote Liberal at the time of the Prime Minister's elections. Registration takes only 30 seconds. You do not need to take any further action at this time. Deadline is January 27th at 5 p.m. Inshallah, we will celebrate Miraj and Mabath of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad on Monday, January 27th, eve of 27th Rajab. Program will begin inshallah at 7:30 p.m. and with a recitation of Quran, and Mehfil will be recited by our resident alim Maulana Sayyid Muhamad Rizvi. Tonight's niyaz sponsored by Dr. Ahlulbait Sayyid and family of Marhuma Sheen SS Habib Maulidina Jafar. Niyaz sponsor for Isal Sahab of Marhuma Sheen SS Habib Mauladina Jafar 40th day, Marhum Ghulam Abbas Chief Ji burial tomorrow inshallah in Dubai, and Marhumin of Badami family. Also, Niyaz sponsor for Isal Sahab of Marhuma Zahida Sayyid Binte Mir Abbas Haider Kazmi 40th day today. Tonight's tea sponsored by the family members for Isal Sahab of Marhuma Sheen Habib Jafar Bimji 1 year death anniversary, Marhum Habib Abdullah Jafar and family, Marhuma Masuma Jessa, Marhum Ahmad Hasnali and Zainab Bimji, Marhum Muhammad Kasam Manji and family. Also tonight's tea sponsored by the family members for Marhum Tanveer Fatima Malik Shaheen Murtada Khan, Malik Muhammad Nawaz Khan, Khurshid Begum, Malik Ghulam Ali, Ghulam Zahra, Malik Ghulam Haider, Malik Hamid Ullah Khan, Malik Asghar Nawaz Khan, Shehzadi Begum, Masum Ali, and Malik Azhar. That announcement and Surah Fatiha, Marhum Ghulam Abbas M. Shiji of Edmonton, inshallah, will be buried tomorrow in Dubai. Another Hadiya Mayat and Surah Fatiha from Marhum Bashir Habib Ramtullah Kara, who passed away today in UK. And lastly, another Hadiya Mayat and Surah Fatiha for Marhuma Masuma Bai Binte Rahmatullah, who passed away and buried yesterday in Bhavnagar, India. Isal Majlis for tonight, Marhum Hamida Bai Huda, Marhum Raza Hussain Huda, Marhum Bahadur Raza Mauji, Marhuma Nasim Remtullah Raza Mauji, Marhum Muhammad Hussain Remtullah, Marhuma Rukia Sundarji Remtullah, Marhum Asghar Ali Khatau, Marhuma Zainabai Khatau, Marhumin of Khatau, Dirani and Mirza families, Marhum Ghulam Abbas Ramzan Ali Tarbai, Marhum Jafar Ali Rauji Lakhani, Marhuma Afifa Tarbai, Marhuma Masuma M. Tarbai, Marhuma Alina Tarbai, all Marhumin. Please let's recite Surah Fatiha, so those names are listed at the screen. Al-Fatiha, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillah. Please join me reciting Dua Shifa Mariz for all those names listed on the screen and all those need of our dua. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amman yujibul mudtarra iza da'ahu wa yakshifu sur. Amman yujibul mustarra iza da'ahu wa yakshifu sur. Amman yujibul mustarra iza da'ahu wa yakshifu. Amman yujibul mustarra iza da'ahu wa yakshifu sur. Amman yujibul mustarra iza da'ahu wa yakshifu sur. Irhamna bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Let's welcome tonight's scholar Maulana Sayyid Muhamad Rizvi for tonight's majlis with a loud salawat. Allah. Brother, since you stand, can you please move forward, please? Allahumma salli Allah. Please, brother, please. Brothers, may you Allahumma salli Allah Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Brothers, again, one more time, please. If you can just move a bit forward, please. Please. Tonight's topic is Abu Talib's Iman and Imam Kazim's Imamat. Al-Fatiha. Can we have a salawat, please? Allah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء وخاتم المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا واللعنة الدائمة الباقية لأعدائهم ومنكر فضائلهم وغاصب حقوقهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم وقال رجل مؤمن من آل فرعون يكتم إيمانه صلوات عليك برارة We've gathered tonight to commemorate two events. One is the Shahadat of the seventh Imam, Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salatu wassalam. As well as the wafat of Abu al-Aimma, Hazrat Abu Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. And we pray that inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the zikr of Quran and Ahlulbait will reward the ladies whose chahlum is being commemorated by the families tonight. When I look at the relationship between the seventh Imam and Abu Talib, tomorrow is the Shahadat day of the seventh Imam, and the day after is the wafat of Abu Talib. But looking at the generation, since Abu Talib is the father of the Imams, I would begin with talking about him on the issue of his Iman and his faith, and then inshallah move towards the seventh Imam, especially talking about the early days of his Imamat. Salawat Pranak Parara. When we talk about the issue of expression of faith, how people basically declare their own faith, there are four different forms depending on the socio-political circumstances that people find themselves in it. One is a situation where a person has Iman in the heart and also has the ability to express there in his tongue. So he's a mu'min inside and he is a mu'min outside also, and this is known as open Iman. Then you have the opposite of that, where there is kufr in the heart and the person also publicly says, I don't believe. That is open kufr. Then we have a situation where there is kufr in the heart, but the kalima on the tongue. And this is what is known as nifaq, hypocrisy. And then the opposite of that, where there is Iman in the heart, but the circumstances are such that the person cannot proclaim that. It doesn't necessarily mean that a person will say kufr, but he doesn't openly talk about it, and this is what we know as taqiyya. So you have a mu'min and a kafir, and then you have munafiq, and then you have somebody whom will say the mu'min who conceals his Iman. So we see there is, the first and second are opposites of one another, and third and fourth are also opposites of one another. Now this fourth form, where a person has iman in the heart and mind, but is not able to, publicly express that because of the political or the social circumstances, that is also a valid form of faith. And this is something where a person would do when that person, would realize that his own life or the life of other mu'mineen could be in danger, by expressing, the faith openly. Quran actually talks about a very interesting story in the life of Fir'aun in chapter number 40. Interestingly, that chapter is known by two names. Surah number 40 is known as Surah Ghafir, and another name for that is Surah Al-Mu'min. It's interesting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala names that surah as a mu'min. But which mu'min he is talking about out of these four different expressions of faith? And this is where you will see that, in the family of Fir'aun, there was one individual who, like everyone around, was not a kafir. He was a mu'min. But the way Allah talks about him, this is surah number 40, ayat number 28. وَقَالَ رَجُلٌ مُؤْمِنٌ مِنْ عَالِ فِرْعَوْنَ. Allah is now starting to quote his words that a believing man from the family of Fir'aun, then he describes a believing man from the family of Fir'aun, yaktumu imanuhu, who had concealed his iman. So Fir'aun didn't know, the people didn't know, even the family around didn't know, but he was a mu'min. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts, quoting his conversation with Fir'aun and the officials of Fir'aun, where he basically was trying to, convince them not to kill Fir'aun, not to kill Musa alayhi salam. And the beginning words is where he says, أَتَقْتُلُونَ رَجُلًا أَنْ يَقُولَ رَبِّي اللَّهِ. Are you going to kill somebody just because he's saying that his Lord is Allah? وَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ. He has come with many very clear signs to you. إِنْ يَكُوا كَاذِبًا فَعَلَيْهِ كَذِبَهُ. If he's a liar, then it will catch up to him. وَإِنْ يَكُوا صَادِقًا. But if he's truthful in what he's saying, يَسِبْكُمْ بَعْضُ الَّذِي يَعِدُكُمْ. Then the warnings that Allah has sent down through him will come and touch you. And then the conversation goes on very interestingly, that we see here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala positively talks about رَجُلٌ مُؤْمِنٌ يَكْتُمُ إِيمَانُهُ. A believing man who had concealed his iman. So somebody who has, because of the situation, conceals his iman, does not publicly, utter that, this is not a negative thing. This is what we call taqiyya. And if you look at the Surah Mu'min, the whole surah is named after him. Not only that, this is for the people who teach Quran in the madrasa, one of the quiz question you could have, that which is the longest quotation of a human being in Quran? It is this Mu'min ala Fir'aun. It goes from ayat number 28 to ayat number 44 continuously. The way he argued with Fir'aun and his people, trying to convince them not to kill Musa and Harun alayhim salatu wasalam. Salawat man. So that was a mu'min yaktumu imanuhu, who concealed his iman from the family of Fir'aun. If you want to see an example of a mu'min who concealed his iman in order to protect the Prophet in the Islamic history, that mu'min yaktumu imanuhu is none other than Abu Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. You know, his role in history to support the Prophet and the mission of Islam is very well known. Nobody can deny that. Anyone who has studied anything to do with Islam, the history of Islam, early days, would know that. The Prophet was born as an orphan. The father had died just 3 or 2 months before his birth. And he was under the care of his grandfather. At the age of 8, you know, even the grandfather died. And the grandfather had asked Abu Talib to take care of his nephew. And from age 8, the Prophet was raised by Abu Talib and Fatima bint Asad. And they took care of him like their own son, to the extent that when Fatima bint Asad died in Medina later on, the Prophet used to say that she was Ummi ba'da ummi. She was my mother after my mother. And so that relationship was there always, not only just as an uncle and nephew. You can see time passes fast. The Prophet now is an adult, has his own, life with Bibi Khadija. There is no problem financially. He becomes 40 years old, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala basically now commands him to start his mission. At that time, Abu Talib doesn't say, "What are you doing? What is this new innovation that you are starting? Going against the norm here in the city of Mecca?" No, Abu Talib supported him, fully supported him for his mission to the end. However, he did not publicly proclaim his faith, because he wanted to maintain his status in the society as one of the chiefs of Mecca or the elders of Mecca, and use that position to protect the Prophet and his mission. And so because of that, greater interest for Islam, Abu Talib did not publicly come out in that way. And this is where we see that, the Quraysh also did not dare touch Rasulullah physically as long as Abu Talib was alive. They actually came to him. They used to go after some of the Muslims who were from, slavery background, or who were not original inhabitants of Mecca. Rather, they had come from other places, and they had linked themselves to one of the tribes of Mecca. And this is where, something like kifala that they have in the Middle East even now for business, if you want to live there as a resident. But those who were weak among them and who had become Muslim, the Quraysh would go after them, but they would never dare harm the Prophet physically. A moment came where they actually came to Abu Talib and they challenged him. They said, we had enough. Either you now separate yourself from your nephew so that we may deal with him directly, and if you don't do that, we will impose socio-economic boycott on not only you and him, but on the entire Banu Hashim clan. What does Abu Talib do? Doesn't say to the Prophet, okay, that's it, this is too much now, others would be hurt. No, he refuses to abandon Rasulullah and his mission. And he willingly said, I'll take Banu Hashim, all of them, to this place known as, Sha'bi Abi Talib, just outside Medina, outside Mecca, which was his own property, a valley. And they would be there. And this continued for 3 years. You know, these sanctions that we hear from the Western powers is nothing new. It was there in those days. But that was it was a socio-economic boycott in a sense. No tribe from Mecca were allowed to even visit them, talk to them, or establish marriage relationship at that time, or to buy or sell anything to them. In a sense that they actually felt threatened as far as their lives are concerned. And the only time they would leave the Sha'b Abi Talib and come into the city were only during the time which even in the Jahiliyyah era, warfare was forbidden. And this went on for 3 years. There are so many other things, we can bring up, but I'm just summarizing and looking only at one, aspect of this life of Abu Talib. One of the clear proof of his iman, his faith in Rasulullah and his mission is the end of this boycott. How did it end? After 3 years, Rasulullah received once a message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Revelation. There, O Muhammad, these tribes of Mecca who had written this boycott agreement against Banu Hashim, and that actually the material on which they wrote it, they placed it in a box and they hung that inside the Kaaba, because this was an important socio-political document signed by all the tribes, the chiefs of the tribes. The Prophet goes to his uncle Abu Talib and he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs me that the agreement that Quraysh had written against us, ants and termites have already eaten it totally, except the first line, which says, Bi-ismika Allahumma. The word Allah was known even in the Jahiliyyah. And they used to write their documents with that phrase, Bi-ismika Allahumma, in your name, O Allah. Mushrik means not somebody who denies Allah. It means that they still worship someone else as a symbol of Allah. And so the Prophet says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has informed me that the entire document has been eaten up by the ants, except that line. Bi-ismika Allahumma. Abu Talib decides to go and confront Quraysh. Why would he go? If he didn't believe that he is a Nabi, if he didn't believe that he gets revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he would have not gone. And he would say, what are you saying? Why would I accept your words for that? His willingness to go and confront Quraysh just on the words of Rasulullah shows that he believes in wahi and ilham of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So he went to Mecca. He told them, I challenge you. This is what my nephew is saying, and I have absolute, conviction in what he says. Open the Kaaba, let us go inside, look at the box, and they did that. Probably they'd also said, it's just his magic or something. But they were forced by the challenge to go inside. They opened the box and they saw that what Rasulullah had said was actually the truth. And because of that, majority of the leaders said, okay, so this boycott is now gone, finished, no more. And this is how Banu Hashim were actually allowed to come back to the city of Mecca. Doesn't this prove that Abu Talib totally believed in the message of Muhammad as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? We have quite a lot in his poetry also, which affirms his belief in Iman. And yet the Wahhabis insist on this issue. Very vehemently, they have propaganda, books, trying to prove that Abu Talib died as a kafir. Actually, Abu Talib didn't do anything wrong from their point of view. His only crime was that he was the father of Ali. Nothing else. Because, when Banu Umayyah came to power, Muawiyah and later on, they basically used all the resources available to them in order to tarnish the image of Ali and his descendants. And then on the other hand, try to glorify their own families. Those days, during the early days of Banu Umayyah, there were even some of their governors who had expressed their wish that somebody would write the seerah, the biography of Rasulullah. And whenever the writers would propose, okay, this is what I'm going to write, they said, no, we don't want this. One of them actually brought the material, prepared. And this is during the reign of Abdul Malik bin Marwan. And when they looked at it, they said, no, we'll burn this. Because you cannot describe the biography of Rasulullah, especially his life in Mecca, without talking about the support of Ali and his father Abu Talib. The only mention there of the elder of Banu Umayyah, Abu Sufyan, would be that, he became Muslim because of the Muslim force that he saw during the conquest of Mecca. So even his kalima there is suspect. It's not something from inside. And yet Abu Sufyan is a Muslim. And Abu Talib is kafir, na'uzubillah. And this is an issue not only, discussed by the Shias. Shia and Sunni scholars have talked about it from early days. Actually, as far as the written, material is concerned, during the early days of Banu Abbas, the first book which was written, trying to prove the Iman of Abu Talib was by a Sunni writer. And he died in the year 225. This is much earlier than our later Imams. This is Abu al-Hasan Ali bin Muhammad al-Madaini, a very famous, writer and historian. He actually had a book by the name of Akhbar Abi Talib wa Wuldihi, the history of Abu Talib and his children. And so he was, he died in year 225. Among the Shias, the first book talking about the Iman of Abu Talib was after the Ghaibat Sughra, and this was written by Sheikh Mufid, who died in the year 413 of the Hijrah. And the title of his Risala is Iman Abi Talib. And so this issue has been there among Sunni and Shia scholars from day one. It is only this extreme Salafi, Wahhabi mentality which promotes this idea that, Abu Talib died as a kafir. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, either give them guidance or eliminate their power, inshallah. Salawat panek. Especially among the Sunnis, those who are from the Sufi branch of the Sunnis. They are 100% with the Shias on this issue. And they actually have been in the forefront of this intellectual battle against the Wahhabis. I'll give you one example, very interesting one. Probably, I don't think many people know about it. In 1930s, or a little bit before it, the Wahhabis, this is before the independence of India, the Wahhabis started this campaign, in a very organized manner in India. Basically, to all major gatherings, the main theme would be to prove that Abu Talib is kafir. One of the Sufi masters of that time, from the Chishti Sufi group, who are actually from the Nizami branch of Chishti Sufis, their spiritual leader who lived in Delhi, there is a whole neighborhood, Nizamuddin. They are from that Nizamiya branch of Sufis. And the leader at that time was Khaja Hasan Nizami. He was not only a Sufi master and Pir and Murshid, he was a very famous and influential writer in Arabic, in Urdu literature. Even used to compose poetry and even drama, actually. He had a very interesting book where he wrote the drama, which was played on the stage in Delhi during his lifetime. And the title of that drama was Tamacha bar Rukhsar Yazid. It means, slap on the face of Yazid. So there's a depiction there. It's a fictional, story, basically trying to, bring elements from the suffering of Bibi Sakina and the events of Karbala, but it was in a drama form. And that drama actually was played in the stage in Delhi those days. I was able to read that second edition of that book, where he was forced to actually write a disclaimer. He said, after this book was published first time and the drama was played, I was accused of becoming a Shia. I would like to declare that I'm not a Shia, And so there's a very, interesting background of Marhum Khaja Hasan Nizami. And in 1930s, when the Wahhabis started this campaign, this Sufi master did something very unusual. There are different ways of countering, false news. He declared in 1931, he declared to all his followers in India, United India at that time, that all those who are my murid and followers, anyone who is blessed with a son this year, name him as Abu Talib. It's a very unique way of, thinking about it. That you are saying Abu Talib is kafir, we will name every son born in our community this year as Abu Talib. Interestingly, he was blessed himself with a son who became his successor, who just died in 2015. His name also was Khaja Hasan Thani Nizami. His father's name with his, second. But his actual name in between is Khaja Hasan Abu Talib Thani Nizami. And so this is where we see that, it's not just a Shi'i issue. Even among the Sufi Sunnis, this issue is very passionate for them also, to defend the Iman of Abu Talib. Salawat. Hazrat Abu Talib and Bibi Fatima bint Asad's contribution to Islam actually, unparalleled. You look at the events of Karbala. Besides the Ashab of Imam Hussain who was killed, all those who are from the family, what do we call them? Shuhada Banu Hashim. That's actually not a proper name. Banu Hashim would even include those who were from the line of Abbas. The 18 Shuhada, martyrs in Karbala from the family, all of them were from the descendants of Abu Talib and Fatima bint Asad. You know, his contribution, the way he raised his children and how that spirit of sacrifice continued, that in Karbala, when you look at Shuhada Banu Hashim, they are not from any other branch of Banu Hashim. They are all descendants of Abu Talib and Fatima bint Asad. And even when if you look at the Imams of the Ahlulbait, all of them are descendants of Abu Talib. And this is where, you know, we are commemorating the Shahadat of the 7th Imam. Even his Imamat began at a time, in a way, I would say, similar to this era of taqiyya that Abu Talib had to go through. His circumstances was only his own. But if you look at the era of the Imams who came after the 6th Imam, a few years ago I had a series of lectures I had done on a weekly basis on the Imamat of each Imam separately. And while preparing for that and studying for that, I came to realize that all the Imams, till the 6th Imam, they still had this ability to publicly talk about their successor. But when Banu Abbas came to power during the Imamat of the 6th Imam, things actually became worse, although they were from Banu Hashim. And there are many, many reasons for it. We can't go into details here, but by the time Mansur comes to power, a very brutal and, you know, the tyrant at the time, the 6th Imam would privately talk about who will be my successor to those whom he really trusted. But publicly he will not mention that. However, he wrote one public will, wasiyat, where he says, who will be my wasi? And even that wasiyat, if you see, was written in the environment of taqiyya. It's very interesting the way he wrote it. He says that Imam had predicted, the 6th Imam had predicted that Mansur will be looking for my successor and he will try his best to eliminate him as soon as he finds the name. And so what does the 6th Imam do? It's not that, you know, he didn't talk about Imam Musa Kazim. He talked, as I said, to only those who are very close and very trustworthy. We have, for example, in Usul Kafi, there are about 13 to 14 narrations where Imam talks individually to his companions about Imam Musa Kazim as the Imam after me. But this public will document that he wrote, Imam knew that Mansur will be trying to find out who is the successor. And when he passed away, one of the first things Mansur does, he actually sent a message to his governor in Medina by the name of Ja'far bin Sulaiman. And he says, go and find out the person whom he has nominated as his wasi. Once you identify that person, bring him to yourself, kill him, send his head to me. So Ja'far bin Sulaiman, the governor of Medina, said, well, you know, there was one wasiyat that Imam had declared that this will be a public will. And when they read it, they realized that Imam said that after me, my wasi would be 5 names he mentioned. Number 1, he says, Abu Ja'far Mansur, the Khalifa. Number 2, Muhammad bin Sulaiman, brother of this Ja'far bin Sulaiman, who was governor of Iraq, Kufa and Basra. Number 3, he mentions his oldest surviving son. Ismail had died during the time of the sixth Imam. The next in line, age-wise, was Abdullah bin Ja'far. So third name that Imam writes in that will is Abdullah bin Ja'far. The fourth name is Musa bin Ja'far. And the fifth name was of Hamida, his wife. Then I'll come to why did Imam do this. Imam basically wanted to confuse the enemy and let the learned scholars from and ashab of the Imam know that who is the true successor. And so the governor wrote back to Mansur. He says, these are the names and I cannot implement your command about it. Because your name is the first one is there. And this is where you see, sometimes we call it Tawriya or Taqiyya. But you want to say, you want to give the message to those who know you, but confuse those who are your enemies. And this is where actually in Kufa at that time, and there is a narration I would like to share just to give you an idea, how the learned companions of the Imam realized who is the successor. There was a person who had gone to Kufa for ziyarat, goes to the Haram of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and after the ziyarat he saw there is a gathering where there is somebody teaching. He asked, who is this? They said, this is Abu Hamza Somali, a very famous companion of the 4th, 5th and 6th Imam. And so this person goes into that gathering there. He says, I was there when a traveler came in. And he announced that I come from Medina and Ja'far bin Muhammad has passed away. Abu Hamza Somali and other Shias there started crying. But once they went through this process of crying, Abu Hamza Somali composed himself and immediately asked the traveler that, did you hear about his will? And this traveler said, yes, I only remember 3 names, in which he mentions Mansur, as well as Abdullah, his older son, and his younger son, Musa. Abu Hamza Somali immediately said, Alhamdulillah alladhi lam yudilluna. Thanks to Allah who did not abandon us. Dalla ala as-saghir wa manna ala al-kabir. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided us to the younger one and relieved the older one from this responsibility of imamat. Wa satara al-amr al-azim. And Allah, the Imam in his wasiyyat basically concealed the great matter. And so this traveler who is the narration of this event, he says, I followed him. He went for ziyarat and then namaz, and then he said, can you explain what you meant by these words? He says, well, Imam mentioned the name of the older son, Abdullah. If Abdullah was capable of imamat and be successor, Imam would not add the name of the younger one. The presence of the name of the younger one is an indication that the older one is not capable of that. And the name of Mansur and Hamida, we know a woman cannot be Imam. And Mansur, of course, is completely out of equation here. And so you are left with and especially when it comes to Abdullah, he also had a physical, visible defect, which is one of the things that we don't believe about Imams. And so by adding the name of the older and then the younger one, Imam basically confuses the enemy. But people like Abu Hamza Somali realize that the next Imam is Imam Musa bin Ja'far alayhi salatu wasalam. And so the imamat of our seventh Imam actually began in a very difficult, precarious situation. And this is where we have to realize that the challenges that he faced, in spite of all this, and we don't even have a time to go into details of other events, we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always, elevated the name of Imam Musa Kazim. If you go to the Haram in Kazimain, you will see that those who come for ziyarat are not only Shias. Many residents of Baghdad would come there. You will see even in namaz, they are folding their hands. And you know why? Because that title of Babul Hawa'ij. They actually consider that shrine of Imam Musa Kazim as a worthy intermediary to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That their hajat are, fulfilled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if they pray to him through Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam. Imam is not alive. This is his shrine. This is his grave. Yet they have this strong devotion. Let me just give you 3-4, quotation from Sunni scholars on this issue. One is from somebody who died in the year 387, Ibn Sam'un. He says, وَكَانَ الشَّافِعِي, Imam Shafi'i, the founder of the Shafi'i madhab, he used to say, قبر موسى الكاظم الترياق المجرب. الترياق المجرب means it is a proven medicine. Means it's a treatment for ailment which have been proven to be, successful. And he says the grave of Musa al-Kazim is at-Tiryaq al-Mujarrab. Imam Shafi'i, one of the scholars from the Shafi'i madhab, Muhammad bin Talha al-Shafi'i, he says, يُعْرَف بِالْإِرَاقِ, referring to the grave of Imam Musa al-Kazim, يُعْرَف بِالْإِرَاقِ بَابُ الْهَوَائِجِ إِلَى اللَّهِ. He is known as the gate to the wishes that people have, and he is the gate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لِلنَّجْحِ مَطَالِبِ الْمُتَوَسِّلِينَ إِلَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى بِهِ, for successful or fulfillment of those who consider him to be the wasila to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. كَرَامَتُهُ تُحَرُّ مِنْحَ الْأُقُولِ. He says his miracles which happen there are beyond the comprehension of our minds and, aql. So here Shafi'i himself, a Shafi'i scholar, then Ibn Sabbagh al-Maliki, one of the scholars from the Maliki faith, and he says, وَهُوَ الْمَعْرُوفُ, referring to the seventh Imam, he says, وَهُوَ مَعْرُوفٌ عِنْدَ أَهْلِ الْإِرَاقِ بِبَابِ الْحَوَائِجِ إِلَى اللَّهِ, that he is known, his grave is known as a gate to the fulfillment of the wishes that people have towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why is he known as Bab al-Hawa'ij? وَذَلِكَ لَنُجْحِ قَضَايَ حَوَائِجِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَنَيْلِ مَطَالِبِهِمْ وَبُلُوغِ مَعَارِبِهِمْ وَحُصُولِ مَقَاصِدِهِمْ. Because through him, people's wishes and their whatever they pray for are fulfilled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salawat padhne ek baar aur. So we have Imam Shafi'i, another Shafi'i scholar, one from Maliki. Let us end with one scholar from Hanbali. And this is actually a famous, historian by the name of Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi in Tarikh Baghdad. He quotes a Hanbali scholar whose name was Ali al-Khallal, Abu Ali al-Khallal. And look at him, what he says. He says, مَا حَمَّنِي عَمْرٌ He says, whenever I had difficulties in my, intellectual, endeavors, ma hammani amrun. I was never, confused or worried about an issue. فَقَصَدْتُ قَبْرَ مُوسَى بْنِ جَعْفَرَ فَتَوَسَّلْتُ بِهِ. Whenever I had difficulties, I would go to the grave of Musa bin Ja'far. Tawassaltu bihi means I would then consider him to be the wasila. This is the verb form of wasila here. He says, I would go there and consider him to be the wasila. Illa wa sahhalallahu li ma uhibbu. Never would I have a problem, but that I would go there, consider him to be the wasila, but that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make my issues sahala, make it easy for me. Salawat padhne ke baar. And so I hope that some of our Shias who are going through some doubts about tawassul of the Imams, they are being taught now that, remember, Ya Rasulullah, when he was alive, he was a wasila. When the Imams were alive, they were wasila. But now they are dead. All these examples are quoted from Shafi, Maliki, Hanbali scholars. They are talking about the grave of Imam Musa Kazim. They are not talking about Imam Musa Kazim who is alive. They are considering that grave and their shrine to be a point and a door of tawassul to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so there's no need to be confused on this issue. If Allah has made them the wasila, that's it. Why should we have this thought of, bukhl? If Allah has given them the power, and the ability, that's it. And this is where we have to realize that there's an issue there? Or are we coming to the Masahib? Okay. Anyway, हमारे नोट्स के लिए आज से हम उर्दू पे आ गए हैं, so that's okay. इमाम मूसा काज़िम अलैहिस्सलाम की ज़िंदगी के बारे में, उनकी इमामत की जो इब्तिदाई दौर है उसको हमने आपके सामने पेश किया है ताकि अंदाज़ा हो कि इमाम के इमामत का दौर जो है इतना आसान नहीं था, लेकिन फिर भी खुदावंद आलम ने जो अज़मत दी है, उनका नाम जो बुलंद और रोशन रखा है, ये खुदावंद आलम की मर्ज़ी की बात है। बनु अब्बास के इब्तिदाई दौर है ये, लेकिन ये हमेशा अहले बैत से ख़तरा महसूस करते थे। अगर इमाम पॉलिटिकली कुछ न भी करें, सिर्फ इनका वजूद, इनका अखलाक, इनका इल्म इस काबिल था कि लोग जो है खींचे जा रहे थे इन लोगों की तरफ। और अखलाक और इल्म वो दौलत है जो सबसे बड़ा बादशाह भी उनसे छीन नहीं सकता है। हुकूमत ले सकते हैं, दौलत ले सकते हैं, लेकिन इल्म कोई किसी से आपसे छीन नहीं सकता है, आपके अखलाक को कोई छीन नहीं सकता है। और इसी मैदान में ये हमेशा शिकस्त खाते हैं। और इसीलिए आप देखें कि मंसूर का ज़माना रहा, 10 साल तक इमामत का इमाम का दौर रहा, कॉन्स्टेंटली अंडर सर्वेलेंस रहे, तहत नज़र। फिर मेहदी अब्बासी का दौर आया, उसके बाद ज़ाहिरन इसको कहा जाता है कि ये नेक खलीफा था, लेकिन जहाँ जब हमारे इमाम की बात आती है, इसलिए इमाम को बगदाद बुलवाया और इमाम को कैद किया। لیکن وہ قید کا اثر جو ہے عرصہ مختصر رہا، اس لیے کہ ایک دن خواب میں یہ مہدی عباسی نے امیر المومنین کو دیکھا کہ امام بڑے غصے میں اس سے کہہ رہے ہیں کہ تم نے ہمارے بیٹے کو جو ہے اذیت دی ہے. تو نیکسٹ ڈے جو ہے وہ امام کو رہا کر دیتا ہے. لیکن I'll make a point here, a point of reflection for us. لہٰذا ہم ذرا یہ انگریزی میں بولیں گے. Although Imam spent many years in prison of Banu Abbas, you know, for example, when he was under the supervision or jail of Isa bin Ja'far, you know, the only time the doors would be open is for when they would bring food or they will allow him to go and do wuzu. Yet, even in that difficult situation, Imam actually would pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he would say, Allahumma innaka ta'lam, inni kuntu as'aluka an tafrughani li'ibadatika. Oh Allah, you know that. I used to always ask you to give me an opportunity to devote on your ibadat and worship exclusively. قَدْ فَعَلْتَ فَلَكَ الْحَمْدِ. Oh Allah, you have given me that opportunity here. You know, Imam changed that prison time into a blessing. He's not sitting there and crying and say, oh Allah, what have you done with me? You know, I have done so much for your faith. No, he actually thanks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I was looking for the opportunity to totally and exclusively spend my time in worshipping you. فَلَكَ الْحَمْدِ. So thanks be to you for giving this opportunity to me. This is where we have to learn. We might go through difficulties and challenges in life, but don't complain. Try to turn it around and look for a positive element in that challenge that you are facing. Salawat padhne ek baar aur. Uske baad Hadi جو خلیفہ آیا اس نے دوبارہ آل علی کے خلاف ظلم شروع کر دیا. پھر ہارون الرشید کا دور آیا. ہارون بہت ہی پاورفل اور ظالم خلیفہ تھا، خصوصاً آل علی کے خلاف اس نے بہت ظلم کیا تھا. یہ ایک بار مدینہ میں پہنچا اور وہاں اس نے جو ہے رسول اللہ کی زیارت کی اور لوگوں کو بتانے کے لیے کہ وی آر فرام دی سیم فیملی بنو ہاشم. وہ کہتا ہے السلام علیک یا ابن عم، سلام ٹو یو او مائی کزن. امام موسیٰ کاظم وہی تھے، انہوں نے سلام کیا السلام علیک یا ابتا. رسول اللہ ان کے بابا ہوتے ہیں. ہارون کو جسد وہ جلن کی آگ جو ہے کہ بھائی how dare he actually is trying to show that he is closer to رسول اللہ. امام کو مسجد النبی سے ہی گرفتار کرواتا ہے اور امام کو پھر جو ہے پہلے بصرہ بھیجا، 1 سال زندان میں وہاں رہے، پھر وہاں سے بغداد بھیجا فضل بن ربی کے انڈر، اور انسسٹنس یہی تھا کہ انہیں زہر دے، لیکن فضل بن ربی نے کہا ہم سے نہیں ہو سکتا ہے. پھر ایک اور فضل بن یحییٰ کے حوالے کیا، لیکن اس نے بھی منع کیا. آخر میں وہ جو پولیس چیف کہا جائے گا اس زمانے میں، سندھ بن شاہق ملعون، اس کے زندان میں امام کو رکھا گیا اور یہی سندھی کے ذریعے جو ہے امام کو زہر دیا جاتا. کربلا کے بعد اہل بیت پر تلوار سے کبھی بھی وار نہیں ہوا ہے. زہر کے ذریعے ان لوگوں نے یہ پروسیس شروع کیا تھا. لیکن ایک مصیبت ہے امام کی جو بالکل منفرد ہے. امام سجاد کے امامت کا پہلا دن جو ہے وہ زنجیروں میں تھا. امام موسیٰ کاظم کے آخری ایام جو ہے زنجیروں میں تھے. بلکہ جب شہادت واقع ہوتی ہے اس وقت جسم میں زنجیر ابھی ہتھکڑیاں لگی ہوئی تھی. کسی اور امام کے ساتھ یہ نہیں ہوا ہے. اور پھر اعلان یہ کروایا گیا کہ امام کے جنازے کو لا کے یہ جو آپ پل دیکھتے ہیں نا امام موسیٰ کاظم کے کاظمین جاتے ہوئے، غالباً وہی پل ہے کہ جہاں امام کے جنازے کو لا کے رکھ دیا گیا. اور اعلان یہ کیا گیا کہ شیعوں کو بتاؤ کہ تمہارے رافضیوں کے امام جو ہے یہ مر چکا ہے. تم سمجھتے ہو کہ وہ زندہ رہتے ہیں، آ کے دیکھ لو. کوئی آگے نہیں بڑھا. عزاداروں نے حسین، لیکن ہارون کے ایک چچا تھا، اس کی یہ ہاشمی غیرت جو ہے برداشت نہ کر سکی. اس نے جب یہ اعلان سنا اسے بڑا احساس شرمندگی ہوئی. وہ نکلتا ہے، اپنے غلاموں کے ساتھ آتا ہے اور امام کے جنازے کو اٹھواتا ہے وہاں سے، اور غسل اور کفن کے بعد امام کو قریش کے قبرستان میں دفن کر دیا جاتا ہے. آج ہم لوگ جمع ہوئے ہیں امام رضا علیہ السلام کی خدمت میں پرسہ دینے کے لیے. بس امام سے صرف ہم اتنا کہیں گے کہ مولا، ہارون نے زہر دلوایا، آپ کے بابا کو شہید کیا ہے، لیکن وہاں کوئی اس کا چچا ہی موجود تھا کہ جس کے دل میں یہ غیرت تھی کہ آپ کے بابا کے جنازے کو جو ہے احترام کے ساتھ اٹھا کے غسل و کفن کے بعد جو ہے دفن کروا دیتا ہے. لیکن ہاں، یاد کریں اس بیٹے کو جو کربلا میں تھا. ہزاروں کی تعداد میں کلمہ پڑھنے والے موجود تھے، لیکن کسی نے آ کے کوئی نہ پرسہ دیا، بلکہ امام حسین کے لاشے کو سامنے لایا گیا. اعلان ہوا کہ ہمیں 10 رضاکار گھوڑے سوار چاہیے تاکہ حسین کے لاش کو پامال کیا جائے. امام رضا علیہ السلام سے ہاتھ جوڑ کے کہیں گے مولا آپ اس مصیبت کو یاد کریں تو شاید آپ کا غم جو ہے کچھ ہلکا ہو جائے. عزاداران حسین، آج ہم اس بیٹی کو بھی پرسہ دینا چاہیں گے جو قم میں دفن ہے. ان کے بابا کے شہادت کے سلسلے میں یقیناً جب امام موسیٰ کاظم علیہ السلام کو مدینہ سے گرفتار کر کے لے گئے ہیں، گھر والوں بہت پریشان رہے ہوں گے اس گرفتاری کے سلسلے میں اور دور جا کے زندان میں قید کیا ہے. لیکن ہم صرف ایک جملہ کہنا چاہیں گے، بی بی ایک قافلہ مدینہ سے چلا تھا. جب وہ چلا تھا علماء ہمارے بیان کرتے ہیں کہ حسین کی بھی ایک بیٹی تھی جو بیماری کی وجہ سے بابا کے ساتھ جا نہ سکی. وہ بھی کس طرح سے بابا کو الوداع کرتی ہے. بی بی اس منظر کو یاد کر کے یقیناً آپ کو کچھ نہ کچھ تسلی ملے گی. بس اتنا ہم کہنا چاہیں گے، رجب کا آخری زمانہ ہے، اسی وقت یہ قافلہ جو ہے مدینہ سے روانہ ہوا تھا. بس ہم یہ کہنا چاہیں گے کہ جب یہ قافلہ لوٹ کے آیا ہے شام سے اور بیویوں نے جب جا کے مدینہ کی خواتین و خصوصاً بنو ہاشم کی عورتیں جو باقی تھی جب اس قافلے سے مدینے کے باہر ملی ہے، یقیناً ہر بیوی رے رباب کی گود کی طرف گئی ہوں گی پوچھنے کے لیے کہ وہ ششما بچہ جو آپ کے ساتھ تھا وہ کتنا بڑا ہو چکا. الا لعنت اللہ علی القوم الظالمین سیعلم الذین ظلموا ای منقلب ینقلبون. خداوند اس کے لیے بات قبول فرما, ہمارے گناہوں کو بخش دے, ہماری توفیقات میں اضافہ فرما. خداوندہ اس ذکر قرآن اور اہل بیت کے ذکر کو اجر و ثواب جن مرحومین کے لیے یہ مجلس ہے, جن کے لیے فاتحہ پڑھا گیا ہے, خداوندہ ان کی نیکیوں کو قبول فرما, ان کی لغزشوں کو معاف فرما, اور ان کو محمد آل محمد کے جوار میں جگہ عنایت فرما. خداوندہ عالم اسلام میں صلاح اور امن کی فضا پیدا کر, تکفیری افواج کی تمام صلاحیتوں کو نیست و نابود فرما, امام کے ظہور میں تاجل فرما. ربنا تقبل منا انک انت السمیع العلیم.
یا حسین, یا حسین, یا حسین. Regis, as a liberal, we want to provide you the information, not encourage. More information on the screen. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Sadiq, again. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Murtaza Ghulam Hussain. Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. شہید ہو گئے غمخوار موسیٰ کاظم, 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 شہید ہو گئے غمخوار موسیٰ کاظم. غریب بے کس و لاچار موسیٰ کاظم, شہید ہو گئے غمخوار جزاک اللہ کاظم, شہید ہو گئے غمخوار کاظم. وطن سے دور شہادت ملی ہے واویلا, وطن سے دور شہادت ملی ہے واویلا, کوئی نہیں ہے عزادار موسیٰ کاظم, شہید ہو گئے غمخوار موسیٰ کاظم, شہید ہو گئے غم جزاک اللہ کاظم. اٹھانے آئے جنازہ بھی آپ کا مزدور, اٹھانے آئے جنازہ بھی آپ کا مزدور, دور تھے چاروں سمت ستمگار موسیٰ کاظم شہید ہو گئے غمخوار موسیٰ کاظم شہید جزاک اللہ موسیٰ کاظم سلام تجھ پہ غریبوں کا پلے بغداد سلام تجھ پہ غریبوں کا پلے بغداد ہے تجھ پہ سات و سردار موسیٰ کاظم شہید ہو گئے غمخوار موسیٰ کاظم جواب ازادارو شہید ہو موسیٰ کاظم کٹی ہے بعد شہادت بدن کی زنجیریں کٹی ہے بعد شہادت بدن کی زنجیریں اقصیا بید